Guess who's back, 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 back again, again, again. Jess is back, back, back. Tell a friend, friend. Hello,
I love
beautiful. Today, I am super excited to welcome back Jess Fry to the podcast. She was previously on actually a year ago today to discuss how to improve your body image in the summertime. And before that, we discussed fat phobia. Today, we will be discussing the anti aging industry. So, if you have been feeling the pressure to look like a much younger version of yourself, buckle up and get ready because I think you will appreciate and enjoy this episode. First, welcome back, Jess, to Your Body's Not the Problem podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Every single time you nail the intro. I love it.
Well, I was just like, I don't know. I'm a fan of Eminem. And then
Same.
it just worked very well and it was just fun. So I appreciate that you enjoyed it as well.
I did. I did.
So, what first inspired this episode was I was scrolling through TikTok as one does, and I came across this content creator who has over 1 million followers. And she was using like a filter on her face and said, like, this is what I thought I would look like when I was 31. And then she takes off the filter and she goes, this is what I actually look like at 31. And my first thought was, no, it's not. This is what you look like at 31 with a whole bunch of Botox, because she has been vocal about using and getting a whole bunch of Botox, which I was looking at it today. She's been getting Botox since around like 22 years old, but she
Mm.
does not say that in the video. And so in my brain, it's like it can lead to comparison. It can lead to you thinking, oh, well, should I go get Botox? Then you might go to, I'm already behind. Like she started when she was around 22 years old and I'm 30, I'm whatever age you are. And it can just lead to so many thoughts. So, my first question for you is, what are the thoughts that you are thinking that keep you from trying Botox?
Mm. It's such a good question. And I think I have an advantage because at no point in my life have I ever been intrigued by the idea of Botox for myself. I think my fear of needles and pain is a big piece of that. Um, but I think now, given all of the work that I've done on healing my relationship with my body, with myself, with food, with movement, and now with just existing as I am, uh, I think it's a little bit more about wanting to look my age as a form of resistance and also just um, tapping into my own authenticity. So we are surrounded at the rapid pace at which we're surrounded by artificial fakeness is scary. Like I can feel my chest tightening as I even describe that. And so I think culturally, maybe as a whole, we will come to this, sooner, hopefully sooner rather than later. Um, but I'm happy that I'm seeing it this way now when we're really deep in, you know, everything is AI and there's this huge movement toward fillers and filters and covering and shifting and changing and firming and all of that. Um, it's refreshing to see someone who looks real. So I think it's partially my own fear of not wanting to put needles in my face. Um, and the other part is, what a great thing to be real in a world that is pushing for so much artificialness, you know?
Yeah, I'm currently learning Spanish on Duolingo and I'm not paying for the Duolingo apps. So I get all the ads and there are so many AI ads on it
Oh,
that I'm like, they're so close to looking real, but you can just tell that's like that is not a real human. but they're using words and just like attacking everyone's insecurities in such a way that like I'm sure it works,
Sure.
right? But I think what you were sharing with like not liking needles, I'm with you on that. But it makes me think about how many people are still getting Botox despite their enormous fear of needles, and
Mm.
like how being authentic and working on like neutralizing how you think and feel about your body could be so much scarier than whatever consequences could come from Botox, from having a needle in your face, like whatever it may be. And it's just like, how do you think you overcome the fear of being your authentic self?
Ooh, what a loaded question. I don't know if this is really answering what you're asking directly, but the thought that came to mind when you were responding was I think about this often. Um, if someone is selling confidence to you through a product, and it's a product or a service that you have to repeatedly purchase, that's not confidence. And so, you know, it makes so much sense to feel a sense of safety uh, when we live in a world that is so obsessed with appearance and treats people better based on their appearance. So it makes sense to feel safe in participating in getting a procedure done or filler or Botox or what have you. And when that fades or when that requires an appointment that you are regularly going to and tapping your credit card and spending more and more money. And if your confidence in how you feel about yourself or in how you feel about your appearance changes based on when you get that procedure or when it's due for the next one, that that's just not that's just not how it works. And it sounds um, easier said than done to sit with. True confidence is in building an internal, uh, sustainable form of self acceptance. And there's no subscription to that. There's no needed, we have to buy this product and now we have to buy that product. And oh, I ran out of it. So now I have to get more. There's certainly tune up and maintenance and work that's involved, but it isn't tied to anything external or, this societal standard that is ever changing and, the finish line is constantly moving. So it's a different kind of work and a different kind of um, investment. And it is not easy by any means. I think, if anything, it's harder. Uh, but when we can step back and look at long term or, the bigger picture, it's healing and so worth the work. And it only involves yourself and what you do in here. So the noise and the external variables that are constantly changing, they no longer have this hold. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's what was coming to mind.
No, I love it so much. And I think it reminds me of like, even in the pursuit of like weight loss, of like, when is it actually going to be enough for you? Like, when it's in that external um product or goal, you're just gonna, it's not sustainable, like you were saying either.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't sound fun.
Yeah. It's exhausting. It's
Yeah,
exhausting.
exactly. There's, at least in my opinion, there are so many other things that we can be putting our energy into. And right now, it's like you might feel like your energy has to go into this.
Sure.
Like you might be seeing your body as the exception of like, oh, well, like, sure, I believe that for other people, but no, my wrinkles are just so bad that I have to do this. And it's like, your body's not making you have to do anything. Your body's not the problem. Yeah, it's just, it's never, if you stop and actually think about it, I don't think you will ever reach a point where it will feel like it was enough. And that confidence, like you're saying, is like, it's not actually yours. Like, you don't own it, I guess, if it's something you have to buy.
There's also nothing wrong with feeling confident if you participate in something like that. So I think about getting my hair cut. I feel like a badass bitch when I get my hair cut. And I could never replicate how my hair looks after the salon. I don't have the skills, and that's okay. But I don't rely on or base my confidence in that one appointment. I still feel confident when my hair is up in a messy bun, or when my hair is greasy because I haven't washed it in 2 days, or when I haven't brushed it, like because the confidence work I've done is internal. And there's nothing wrong with still feeling good or getting a boost uh, based off of how you feel participating in something like that. But if that is where the confidence lies, then oh my gosh, what an exhausting game of chasing that very limited and temporary high that you can't produce or provide to yourself. That's so unfair.
Yeah, so the difference I'm hearing is kind of like your intention behind it. Of like your
Mm.
intention behind getting a haircut now is different than before, of like why you're doing it. And then like it will feel so much better afterwards because of how your intention changes. It's like, in my opinion, eating a salad can be unhealthy, eating a salad can be quote unquote healthy. That's a whole other episode. But to me, it's like your intention behind why you're eating it like matters so much for how it like resonates with you and whether or not it's actually helpful or unhelpful.
I have yoga later today. And when I was showering this morning, I noticed, oh, I haven't shaved my legs in a while. And I think I talked about shaving the last time we met. And I mean, for anyone who listened or who cares, the update that I've come to is that I am so overstimulated by leg hair.
Mm-hmm.
So I went all winter, didn't shave my legs, didn't bother me, didn't notice it, didn't care. And then as soon as I started wearing shorts again, the some people enjoy this. The feeling of like me walking and the breeze moving through my hair was not doing it for me. And so I had to make that decision. I had to sit with, and I did, I sat for a few days with, am I using this as an excuse to go back to something that feels safer because it's all I've ever
Ooh.
known? It's what I've learned to be more comfortable with. Or is this truly something that, leaves me feeling worse? Or is a different kind of distraction that, you know, forces me to be hyper fixated on my body in a way that I've learned to not rely on? And I've come to the decision that for me, I just feel better when I don't have that sensory nightmare happening. And I also don't need to be shaving my legs multiple times a week to reach some form of aesthetic goal. So when
Mm-hmm.
I was showering this morning and I remembered, oh, I have yoga today and it's going to be 85 degrees, which in
Nice.
PA in early May is too warm for me.
Oh. Boo.
I
I'm
know. Thank
joking.
you. And I was like, okay, I haven't shaved in a while, and my leg hair is noticeable, but not the length where I'm overstimulated and uncomfortable. I had a very automatic thought of, ooh, people are going to see me. I haven't worn shorts in this yoga class yet. And I had to sit there in the shower and actively walk myself through, okay, so what would my intention be if I were to choose to shave my legs right now? Is that so that I would feel more comfortable? Or is that because I'm aware that other people might see that I have leg hair they might have their own judgment or their own internal reaction to that. And the latter was my reason. And so once I was able to acknowledge that and, accept it for what it was, I finished the shower and I didn't shave my legs. And I think just having that additional uh, conversation with yourself or
Mhm.
process, whatever it might look like for you, when that's attached to our values and what matters to us personally, internally, not based on the values that society holds, it is such a different process. And that is what's authentic about it.
Mhm. That was, I think I've been thinking about it around the same time that we last spoke as well. And just even shifting my verbiage of like, oh, I need to go shave to I want to shave feels so different. And then it gives you grace of like, there's nothing, your leg hair is not making other people uncomfortable. If it is, that is definitely a them problem and not a you problem. It's not a your leg hair problem kind of thing.
Right.
And so many things I just feel like it's like we're trying to get rid of our wrinkles, we're trying to get rid of our body hair, we're trying to get rid of whatever weight is on our body to try and like make other people feel comfortable when they probably don't even feel or they probably don't even feel uncomfortable.
Mm.
But it's also like it's not their life, it's not their body. Like we spend so much time and energy trying to make other people comfortable. Is like, are you comfortable? How do
And
you
money.
feel?
And
Yes.
money. It's such a money game. It's so exhausting and it's so draining. And then we're left with very little to spend on the things that matter to us. So it's very expensive in all of the ways.
Yes, 100%. When everything has been made to be so, like, quote unquote, normal, what might you say to someone who feels like these procedures or dyeing their gray hair is just like the natural next step? Like, it's just a part of life that they have to take part in. It's like, oh, you're turning 30, time to go do Botox. Oh, you're turning 40, time to go dye your gray hairs. Like, it's so normalized. So,
Mhm.
how I don't know. It's like, how do you work through the fact that it feels like it's something you have to do, slash, like everyone around you is doing it? Maybe that's the better way of saying it.
I like to offer as much validation and compassion as I can. Um, Similar to my work with body image, of course you feel that way. Of course you feel the pressure to change, to slow down the natural aging process. Um, you know, People with larger bodies are treated differently in our society, and uh, people who are older are treated differently in our society. We have all forms of discrimination that are normalized. So it's understandable that we would do anything we can that's in our control or, accessible to us to slow that down, to prevent that, to, um, keep ourselves safe and protected. And so I try to offer empathy to that, um, because we have enough shame in the world, and so many of the reasons why people are pulled to wanting to change themselves is rooted in shame. So if we meet the opposite with shame, that, oh my gosh, you can't shame yourself or hate yourself into confidence or loving yourself or being authentic. So if you can meet that pull with more empathy and grace, I think that's a great starting point. And then I like to gently challenge or throw out perspective in the sense of like, where did you learn that? Like, where does that belief come from? And it's always so interesting. Some people have an immediate reaction or an immediate, oh, it came from, whatever. They have a
Yeah.
specific answer. And other people, it stops them in their tracks. Like, what do you mean? Where did that come from? That it just is. That's just don't you feel that way? Like everyone thinks that. And when we can slow down and really think about where those belief systems started and what we've adopted to be our own, we gain more control around what we want to continue holding for ourselves and what we want to work toward unlearning or letting go.
Backstepping to the shame and meeting it with
Mm.
grace and compassion. Can you share an example of like what shame might sound like or feel like for having gray hairs, and like how would you meet that with compassion? Like what would that look like or sound like for someone?
Yeah, it's a great question. Um, there's so many media examples coming to mind around, just this societal reaction when women look in the mirror and they're like, "Oh my God, no. Oh my, are you kidding? Like, I can't believe, is that really a gray hair?" And it's this
Yeah.
big monumental reaction as though something is wrong and
Mhm.
something is dire and urgent. And that in and of itself is filled with shame. But then there can be an internal dialogue of, how did I let this happen?
Right.
As though you somehow went into your DNA and planted your own hair roots to be a different shade. Um, there can be thoughts around, I can't let anyone else see this. I have to pull it out. Are there more? Did other people see this and not tell me? Oh my God, I'm getting older. Like just this spiral of negative, turning it inward as though you did something wrong or that a gray hair is a sign of something bad is so seeping with shame. And so when we can recognize that as shame and pause it, because I think it can be overwhelming to consider reframing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're so used to the shame spiral, it's less likely to go all the way to gray hair is beautiful and I'm going to embrace it. You're not going to believe that. So if you could simply work toward pausing it and recognizing, like, okay, yeah, that doesn't feel great because that is full of shame. And like, I don't deserve to shame myself, or I don't want to shame myself. That doesn't feel good. I think that's a great stepping stone. Um, but a little reframe, a little gentle, like, who said gray hair is bad? Who said that this is a sign of anything that I've done wrong or something I need to fix? So, shame is a big component of all anti-aging details for sure.
As you were saying, like just that pause can be so powerful. One thing that like I enjoy doing is when I like hear a thought in my brain and then I want to vocalize it to someone, I will say, my brain thinks this. Or like really trying to separate, because like I can understand that the thoughts I'm thinking that maybe feel negative or are unhelpful, they're not mine. I was not born with those specific thoughts in my brain. So being able to say, like, my brain is thinking this right now, and like trying to have that separation, but it's like just
Mm.
having that pause of, this is uncomfy.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel good. And if you can just pause, then you can have that choice again of like, maybe you do choose to think that thought again. And maybe you choose to think it's a different thought. And maybe it goes back and forth a couple days. But it's just like, I don't know. I think pausing in general in so many areas can be so helpful.
And I like that you said it's uncomfy because it is, which is typically the thing we're trying to run from. We're trying to chase this sense of comfort and safety. And so and it's not always safe yet to sit in it. So if the thought of pausing and sitting in that discomfort feels too activating or overwhelming, uh, don't do it yet. Like slow that down. Um, but I think you point out such an important piece of the process, which is teaching yourself and giving yourself the opportunity to recognize that you can sit in that discomfort. And the messaging that we've been bombarded with has taught you otherwise, that no, you won't actually, and no, nobody's saying this directly, but it's implied.
Yeah.
You won't survive if your hair is gray, or if you have wrinkles on your face, or if you have varicose veins. Life is going to be a lot harder for you. And so we believe that, when your brain hears the same thing often enough, you accept it as truth. So when it feels doable enough to sit with that discomfort and recognize for yourself, okay, like, yeah, it is uncomfortable, and I'm moving through it, and no one's freaking out, and I'm okay, and I can breathe, I can calm myself down. Like, what a powerful, like, self-connection that
Mm.
we're often pulled away from.
Just because, yeah, just even with that pause, like, I don't, if we stop and think about it, we can recognize, like, yeah, it does feel urgent. It does feel like something that is an emergency. But when we're just like in the midst of it, your body feels like it's an emergency, but like mentally, you probably aren't thinking about, like, oh, this feels like an emergency. I don't actually have to rush. But it's like I think about the other people in my life that I see them act as if it is an emergency. And that then brings me to the thought of, do you have anyone in your life or social circle or online that you can follow that they don't treat it as an emergency?
Mm.
Like somewhere that you can find the proof of, like, yeah, you're not going to go from, oh my God, I hate my gray hairs, to they are the coolest thing ever. But it is possible to get to a point where it's not full on hating your gray hairs and seeing them as an emergency. For me, I think about my nanny. She is turning 91 in June. She has had gray hair my entire life. At least my brain only remembers her having gray hair. And I'm like, I can't wait to look like her.
Oh.
Like, I want all the wrinkles, I want all the gray hair. That would be so great. And so it's like, she is my proof of, like, she gets her
Mm.
nails painted sometimes in the retirement home, and she'll go back to her apartment and be like, when the heck did I get nail polish? Someone take it off of me. Because she's like, I've never done this in my life. I don't want it right now. Like, I don't need it. And it's like,
Mm.
I've never seen her wear makeup. I haven't seen her do any of those things. So I'm like, I want to be like Nanny when I'm 91. So it's like, where can you find the proof? And it's like, maybe it's listening to this episode of, like, hearing about two people who were not doing Botox, were not fearing the aging or the anti-aging industry that they're trying to shove down our throats right now. Where can you find proof that, like, it's all good? It's all good if you have wrinkles. It's all good if you got gray hairs. Like, your body's
and
not the
life
problem.
and life doesn't stop if you do. And I think, I mean, what a beautiful representation you've gotten to grow up with, and modeled to you that life is probably a whole lot fuller when you look at it that way versus the opposite.
Very, very grateful, because otherwise it's like, I have other people in my life that's like, they get all of the creams and they make all of the comments about their
Mm.
bodies, and I'm like, is that what I'm supposed to look forward to? Like, respectfully,
Mm.
what?
Mm.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
um and again, they're being raised and influenced in very similar ways. They've had those thoughts in their brains for even longer than we have. And just, I don't know, it's just so much energy being put into something that you probably don't actually want your energy being put into if you were to pause and start questioning and thinking about things.
Yeah. And it's hard. I think having empathy for that, and being able to recognize, wow, I really feel for that person. Like, it's annoying. I can't stand going to a store and being in a dressing room and hearing people in the stalls next door where every comment is picking apart their appearance, kind of brings down the mood, to be honest with you. And sometimes it really does shift my mood, and I have to hold space. Sometimes I have to catch myself and remind myself what you just said. Like, they are being exposed to the same messaging, and you know, we're all impacted by it, and it's exhausting. It's also
Oh,
helpful when you once you see it, you don't unsee it. And so being able to kind of hear other people who are really deep in it, I think offers some perspective and um, almost like, oh, wow, a reminder of how far you've come, even if it's implementing small little steps. So,
mhm. Next question for you is how much
yeah.
of the anti-aging fear do you think is based off of fear of change?
I think it's certainly part of that. I think if we go a layer deeper, though, what I was mentioning before is uh, change of how we're treated. And
Mm,
so if you and you have, everyone has, I don't know a single person who hasn't experienced witnessing forms of discrimination against certain groups of people. So if you've grown up and you've witnessed that people in larger bodies are treated more unfairly, if you've grown up witnessing people who are older are, not taken as seriously, or they're taken more advantage of, or um, they're less respected. If you've witnessed people with thin, pretty privilege get more of what they want, and those without it don't, it makes sense to fear this inevitable change that time comes with aging, and aging comes with evidence of aging. And our bodies are designed to get slower and wrinkle and show that we've lived on the earth longer than before we had those signs of evidence. So I think it's more about the change in how we are being treated. And it can be, so connected to grief too. If there's a fear of loss, like, oh, I don't want to lose this sense of safety or comfort. I don't want to lose um, kind of that like protection factor of when I looked a certain way in my 20s and I was treated a certain way because of it. Oh gosh, if I don't have that in my 30s or my 40s or my 50s, what do I have? So I feel like change is definitely a factor. And if we go a little deeper, it's change of how we get treated because of these standards.
what would be your advice then for someone who is like recognizing then that like the environments they are in, they will be treated differently? Like how do you this feels like it could be its own episode. It feels like it's like years of therapy. How do you I don't know. It's like, how do you stand in who you are? How do you find new rooms to put yourself into that are inclusive, that are welcoming? How do you, like, one of the things that comes up for me is like, if someone is being bullied in school and it's for their
Mhm.
body, and the whoever is with them is like, oh, okay, well, like, we're going to put you on a diet. We're going to help you not get bullied again. It's like, oh, but their body wasn't the problem. The bullying was the problem. So it's like, how do we fight against that discrimination? I guess would maybe be the question.
Yeah. And what a big question.
Yes.
Which, if I had the answer, I would certainly be making movement in that regard. But I think it is so much bigger than us. And this might not be the most inspiring response, but it has made an impact for me in I'm very solution focused. My mindset is very solution focused. I think that's why I got so sucked into dieting and being obsessed about trying to control how I look. And so my brain goes to how do I fix it? Right? I can identify the problem. I know what it is that is negatively affecting billions of people. So let's just fix it. Let's get to the root of it. And it's hard to accept and sit with that's a problem a lot bigger than me. And it's also a problem a lot bigger than a group of us. But I do think that there's power in how we participate despite it. So if it feels empowering to make choices and decisions that go against that, so for bullying, for example, you might not be able to remove bullying from existence, but if you participate in anti-bullying campaigns or um, you know, spread awareness on what it's like to talk to people with kindness and be compassionate, and that is still making an impact and it's still changing things for people. So it might not be removing the problem of there are these really unrealistic and stupid standards that are all made up that we've been conditioned since day one to live by and to strive for. We might not get to change that, but we can make decisions in our own lives to go against that, to exist in spite of that. And it might not be huge or monumental, but I think every action counts. And when more of us are doing that, it starts to get louder and have an even bigger ripple effect. If fewer
Mm-hmm.
people are buying makeup, or if fewer people are participating in Botox, or if fewer people, unfortunately, they just move the goalpost to something new. But if fewer and fewer people shift with that change, I think that's powerful in and of itself.
It makes me think about being on social media. It can feel so overwhelming because it feels like every
Mm.
single person is doing all of these things. But then it's like what you're saying. It's like, oh, but then can you find one person on social media who isn't? Can you find a couple people on social media who aren't? Can you find a couple people in your life who aren't? That is like, it can feel so, it not can, it does feel so overwhelming
Yeah.
when the ads are on the radio, when the ads are on Duolingo, when the ads are everywhere on social media. Like every single place you look is feeding you this information. And like you said, we're not gonna change all of these things overnight. We're not gonna like starting with what you can do, like the smallest low energy thing that feels good for you, fills up your cup too, maybe. And like, yeah, just having that little side of rebellion. Get ready with me with a side of rebellion.
I love that. I also think, and maybe rebellion is something that like someone listening isn't pulled toward that. Um, I I like to you hear the phrase online often like aging is a privilege. Um, I've shifted for myself a reframe around 5 years ago. Like, what would that version of me be proud of this version? So, maybe 5 years ago, I was participating in all of the things that related to looking a certain way. And maybe there are still areas that I want to keep improving and I want to keep shifting for myself, but can I just use this as an opportunity to look at that growth and be proud of how far I've come? It is such a huge mountain to climb, and very few people get to the top of that and like, put a flag in the earth. And that doesn't have to be the goal. Just making any movement uh, can be getting you closer to that authentic version of yourself. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
That's what I was gonna say. Your authentic self rocks. Like it's really cool.
Mountain, rocks. I love that.
I I didn't do it on
You didn't even
purpose.
try.
Thank you so much for being here again. I appreciate you. Just the way you think about things is very beautiful. It's very appreciative in a world that is constantly shoving shame. It's constantly shoving shame and guilt and do this and don't do that. And it's like, I appreciate that you lead with compassion, you lead with like your heart. And I think everyone feels that when they listen to you and see your content. So I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you. I have two final questions that I have switched up since this is your third time here. So, number one is what's one thing you're looking forward to for when you're older?
First, thank you for saying all those kind of things. I appreciate you so much. Um, there are so many answers to this that it's the one that's the loudest in my brain. And maybe if you had asked me on another day or if my mood was a little bit grumpier, my answer would not be this at all. Um, and it almost goes against what I've said the whole episode, but I do have hope that we can shift the way that I think, especially women, the way that we see ourselves, look at ourselves, and show up as ourselves. And it might not feel like it right now, but I do think when I'm older, the culture and the way that these standards are represented or marketed, I think that's going to look a lot different. It might not be, the goal. I don't think in my lifetime I'll see a huge shift or, a swing of the pendulum, but I do think that, and I hope, and again, if you asked me this a couple days ago, I would have been like, there's no hope. Um, that shifts for me. But I do think that when I'm older, I look forward to being able to breathe a little bit more around this and almost like smile on the work that so many people are still doing despite the volume of the opposite message. There are still people who are consistently showing up and spreading this kind of message, and that gives me hope that that group will get louder as I get older. I hope. I'm also just trying to manifest it. So,
Yeah, put it out into the universe.
exactly.
Oh, that just like that makes me excited for the future too. It's like, oh, that's a really nice thing to think about. And it doesn't hurt you to think that way.
It could be naive, but you know what?
It's like so many people ask me, it's like, Leah, aren't you so afraid? Like before we actually moved to Florida, aren't you so afraid of setting the goal of moving to Florida and being disappointed? It's like, I
Oh,
would be disappointed if I never set the goal and even tried, right? So it's like putting it out into the universe of like,
mm,
I'm not like, I'd be disappointed if I didn't have hope,
yeah,
maybe. And in a world that
yeah,
is constantly pushing us down to not have that hope, you
yeah,
said there's no hope. And that's my grandfather that passed in November. That was his saying of like, there's no hope. And I was like, no, Grampy, there is hope. So it's like finding those little bits of hope where you can, I think is very nice.
yeah.
Second question is what do you think the 90-year-old future you would say to you right now?
I'm so proud of you. I think that the way that I mean, I guess I just gave that example, right? Of something that I try to do for myself now is looking back, and I do this with my clients. It's a big part of I think, the process. We can get lost in what's right in front of us or what we're struggling with right now or how difficult the current goal we're working toward can be. And so rarely do we pause and slow down and sit with now and look back at how far we've shifted. And so I think that's really tied to our society too, in this very fast paced, what are you working on next? You have to constantly be producing. Um, so I try to do that in increments now of looking back at how far I've come, that come 90, I'm gonna be so fucking proud.
Hell yeah, you are.
And I hope that for everyone, right? Because there are a lot of people who talk about being in their older age, they have lots of regrets. And I think if we're thinking about that concept, not all the time, but every once in a while, bringing ourselves back to what would 90-year-old me think about now or what I'm doing? Um, what a beautiful way to, you know, get to a place or be able to picture that as being a positive thing versus
Mhm.
regretting something, like never letting yourself move or never letting yourself wear shorts.
I love it.
I love
And
being here. Thanks for having me. It's always so
thank
nice
you.
to talk to you.
Thank you for being here.
Of
And
course.
I will be sharing your social media links in the show notes. I will also share our previous episodes in the show notes. Would you like to share any upcoming events you have?
Ooh, if you are local to or near South Central PA, I'm located in Ephrata, which is like Lancaster County. I've been hosting women's events, retreats. At the end of May, I'm co-hosting a retreat all around anger and meeting the emotion of anger with as much compassion and grace as we can. There's so much shame wrapped in that for women. So I'm really excited for that. And then, not necessarily an event, but I'm in the process of building what I'm calling Confidence Closet, which is a free resource for those in eating disorder recovery to come and shop a whole giant inventory of clothing free of charge and in a safe, inclusive, body diverse environment so that they can grab new clothes that fit their current body without shame. So if you want to learn more about that, you can find that on my website.
You're just like the coolest person I know, I think. Like, you're so cool. These
Oh,
events are amazing. Like, I wish I lived
thank you.
closer because I would love to go to both. Like, if you are in Pennsylvania, please go. Please go for me.
Please go live vicariously through.
Yes, yes, please.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that so much.
Of course. And just on behalf of everybody, we appreciate these events that you're hosting. Like, they're so important. Like, I can't even count the amount of times in the past that like I would go shopping for clothes,
Mm,
and it's like, no wonder Graham stopped wanting to go clothing shopping with me. Like, in general, it just sucked. And it's
yeah.
like, it's so cool that you've created such a safe place for people to go and actually get clothes that fit their body properly, because your body was not built to fit clothes. Clothes were built to fit your body. So go find Jess, find her in Pennsylvania, and you'll be so happy that you did. So
Thank you.
thank you again. And I can't wait for the next time that you're on the podcast.
Me too.
Oh,
Thanks, Leah.
and
Oh,
sorry, I almost forgot. Your body is not the problem.
never the problem.